Hey everyone, my name is Rooster and welcome back to Mechabellum. In today's video, we continue the series of 10 games that I had against Sarah. For those of you that didn't see the first video, link will be up top. We ended with 3 wins and 2 losses. And yeah, by this point, I didn't know that I was going to play 5 more games still on the same day. But yeah, they were a lot of fun. And I think it's an interesting video to show you guys how both of our playstyles kind of progress as we play each other this many times in a row. So in this particular first game, game 6 of the series, I end up being Giant Specialist with Steel Balls and Crawlers. Steel Balls, again, I think are pretty strong in the meta right now. They mostly have good matchups against all of the other starters, and they just allow you to get you some tempo, which is also quite important against Sarah, because I know Sarah likes to play a very tempo-heavy playstyle. And so I kind of want to match that in my pack choice as well. So both of us here end up in a bit of a mirror. My opponent is Arclight Steel Ball, also does buy crawlers. So the only difference here is I have 3 crawler packs and my opponent has 3 Arclights. I think here the Arclights should be favored. They're very strong currently and they're still very strong in the early game as well. Lots of DPS, good chaff clearing. So we'll have to see how this plays out. Bit of a different setup here. I still prefer to kind of go asymmetrically on one side, but this is a bit vulnerable to those mid flanks that you see with the beacon pull. And that's exactly what Sarah is playing against, trying to prevent that from happening. So he's been playing more in the center to prevent that type of pull from being effective against him. We'll have to see if Sarah tries to punish that at any point. And yeah, crawlers here will go behind the steel balls. Both of us are doing the same thing. Steel balls, I like to pair up behind my Arclights. It's a bit of a bigger difference there for Sarah. Steel balls are faster, so if you play further back like he does, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. And he does actually get better locks here, as some of my Arclights, or at least one of them, gets stuck on his. We will end up killing that Arclight, but the question is, do we have enough left to be able to chaff clear all of these crawlers? It actually looks quite good. One of his Arclights is still alive though, doing a good job in the back line of getting rid of my crawlers. But with 3 steel balls left alive, I think that we should come out ahead in this fight. And so never mind about those 3 Arclights being favored. Starting position sometimes does matter as well, and the engagement there goes my way. And so we equalize the hit points, both of us now at 4,700. Round 2, we immediately pick up the pace with a first round of unit reinforcements. Now, I know Sarah, and I know that Sarah very much likes the Wasp pack. You can already see there in the corner, a play is being made on my left tower, which is undefended after my round 1 deployments. And this is something that Sarah likes to do a lot. Even when there are no unit drops, this is something that I've faced plenty of times, so I was kind of expecting it. Now here, Stormcaller doesn't look that good. Sabertooth is fine, but it's not great into these steel balls. It kind of shoots too slow to be meaningful, I think, in the headbutt. And then we have Wasp, which we can mirror, and we have the Marksman. Now the Marksman is quite strong as well, because it does one-shot the steel balls, the Arclights, and the Fire Badgers that my opponent just got from their specialist. And so I'm a bit on the fence here. Do I want to mirror the Wasp or do I want to go for the Marksman? And it ends up being the Marksman. And I will just choose to go for Mustangs myself, expecting my opponent to go for the Wasp. I'm not sure if this was the correct play. I think honestly going just for the Wasp was the easier decision, because Mustangs are just not going to be that strong into all of these other units. They struggle against Crawler, they struggle against Arclight, and they don't really have the damage to kill these Fire Badgers. Now you see me put a crawler pack there on the left as well as a missile, because I was expecting a crawler plus a wasp, but I kind of forgot about that Fire Badger, and so it's an even bigger assault on my left tower than I expected, which means that, yeah, the wasps will end up surviving. And the right side is also losing from the looks of it. That mid pull that I mentioned is being put to good use there by Sarah, and that looks like a good second round from him. Now he is Fire Badger Specialist, of course. I am Giant Spec, so he already got his power spike there. And we'll have to see if we can make something work with the Giant Spec that we have. Round number 3, Elite Phoenix, Elite Tarantula. Both interesting cards, but a bit expensive. But I thought to myself, well, you know, Elite Tarantula is not something that a lot of people pick up. Neither do I, mostly because it's so expensive. But it's not bad into Steel Balls and Fire Badgers. It tends to do quite well into medium-sized units, especially with levels, and that's the one thing that I do get from this. So I decided to kind of throw things around completely and try and play for something that is not mirror-like. Because currently we're a bit like falling behind, right, in this Steel Ball Arclight matchup that we had going on. And so I think to myself, why not try something different and go for that Elite Tarantula? He probably doesn't expect it, so maybe I can get a bit of an advantage or a foot back into the game that way. You can see here these crawlers on the flanks, but I sell out of my Steel Balls, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal anymore. I also use the oil, and yeah, with the Soul Steel Ball, we can afford 1 Tarantula, as well as 1 more Crawler. Now, more Wasps have been added, and that push into the left tower has gotten scarier still because of the mobile beacon. I'm just hoping to stall the left side, or the right side rather, long enough, because I know that it is weaker now since I did sell my Steel Balls, and Sarah has level 2 Steel Balls. Left side though looks good. That play there on the left didn't really play out, and we actually, I think, had money for a Crawler flank as well, so I think this was triple deployments on the turn from me. And with the debuff, maybe we can pull something off. There's still so many Steel Balls left though, and those will get the tower debuff alongside the Crawlers. This Tarantula will have to work very hard, never mind the Mustangs. I'm not sure that we'll be able to pull this off. That is 9 seconds of debuff, which is an awfully long time. Eventually we do recover, but yeah, Tarantula there, no text just yet. Steel Balls do lock on, and that means we will lose the round here. The one downside of those Elite Tarantulas is they give a ton of experience. So the level 2 Steel Balls almost level again, and the level 1s are now ready to become level 2 Steel Balls themselves as well. So it's a tricky kind of game here. Can I stabilize and get enough techs on my Tarantulas before those Steel Balls get out of control? Incendiary Bomb shows up. It is something that I could pick up as well to try and set the oil on fire. But I thought to myself, you know, the oil slow here is actually quite useful too. And so maybe I should just not go for the obvious pick and go for something like the Amp Core, which is a really nice item for the high-level Tarantulas as well. And I believe that is going to be what I go for. Yeah, there we go. That was the thought process there. Again, there's another line you can go for. I think going for the Incendiary is also completely fine. Opponent here goes for more Steel Balls, double Steel Ball on the left side, and does go for the Incendiary on the left as well. And yeah, the tricky thing here is if this Tarantula does go down, again, it will give so much experience. I think that the Steel Balls might level instantly. And without any backup from Chaff or Mustangs, we might be in a bit of a pickle here on this turn. We do have the money to go for range though, kind of important here. It's the whole comp I'm going for relies on the Tarantulas being strong, so I have to give them something there. We try and stabilize the right side this time, try and make use out of that slow, and hopefully this Tarantula with the item will be able to do something. But yeah, left side here does look a bit rough. Yeah, that fire will end up taking out some of my units there. Steel Balls nicely beaconed in from Sarah. Will get to my tower as well. And yeah, because of my struggles with the money, I'm not quite able to fill every gap just yet. And with that debuff, yeah, right side is in trouble too. Those level 3 Crawlers and those Steel Balls now locking onto the Tarantula. I'm kind of surprised that those Steel Balls there don't level up, but they will now, because my level 3 Marksman that I picked up early also is worth a lot of experience. So yeah, now things are looking a bit dire. Lost a lot of hit points there, a bunch of levels on the Steel Balls, and at this point, at equal levels on the Steel Balls, it starts getting really, really tough for the Tarantulas to do something. But I think I'm already too invested into the Tarantulas. So I just decide to double down, and I kind of want to see if they can pull it off or not. So we grab HE, which is still kind of useful against the Steel Balls as well. They tend to splash multiple ones. So even though you lose 40% attack, you hit multiple Steel Balls, so you kind of make up for the DPS in that way. Bunch of missiles from us here as well to try and kind of hit these steel balls, slow them down, or hit chaff. If we can get some early lock-ons, we can hopefully get rid of those scary units, and that should help us out. Attack buff here picked up as well. More wasps from Sarah to try and defend the flank. And that is the one thing that I don't really have. I have one pack of Mustangs right now, but I've been spending a lot of money on the tarantulas, and my opponent now goes for the range on those steel balls, and it just looks like we still don't have enough chaff to be able to protect our tarantulas. And yeah, steel balls there, leveling again. Left side doesn't look too bad, but there's some late crawlers and some late wasps coming in, and with the debuff, I think they will get it done. That's another big round there from Sarah, and round 5, I think this is close to another, maybe just below 1,000 damage, but it's not really what you want to see. Yeah, it is 1,000. Down to 1,100 now. Round number 6, still no free unit drops, so they'll come around on round 7. But the question is, will we have enough here? I mean, a good round from Sarah, and he might be able to close things out. Electromagnetic impact shows up. Sarah picks it up. Makes a lot of sense. Tries and throws it onto my 2 tarantulas on the left. We'll have to shield against that. I pick it up as well. There is some useful stuff to hit here. The steel balls. Ground spec is now selected on the wasps, because Sarah realizes that I'm in trouble. I still haven't really answered these steel balls too much, and because of that, I haven't had the resources, the deployments to be able to address the anti-air situation too much. I just go for more tarantulas here. I'm trying to win the ground. If I can win the ground, I think I might be fine. If I kill all the steel balls, I should even be able to survive, and then maybe we can kind of get back into the game with a Mustang round. But I have to take some risks here. I can't play around everything, and well, dealing with the wasps won't necessarily help me deal with the steel balls. Maybe I could have gone for something like wasp anti-air. I just hope that I win the air fight, but yeah, I end up just going for the tarantulas. At least now I would have 5 tarantulas, and yeah, I don't shield there, even though I'm loaning. So 2 of the tarantulas on the left get debuffed. That is really not a good sign at all. You can see this tarantula is doing quite a good job here of fighting those steel balls. But yeah, left side, it was completely helpless as we lost our techs because of the EMP. Right side looks good though, and the stabilization I was hoping for has somewhat happened. This doesn't look to be enough damage to be able to kill me there, so maybe my risk has paid off. I think putting a shield down though on the left certainly would have helped me a lot, and it likely should have been something that I invested in. Round number 7, finally now we do get more free units, but this is not a good sign for me at all, since we have the Wraith show up. And I know Wraith is a problem for me because I don't have anti-air, and none of these drops allow me to address the Wraith. So yeah, I kind of just ignore it. I guess Melter would have been a good thing here, but it's just so expensive. Like, I don't know what line I could have gone for in this scenario. I end up going for just more Mustang because I have to address the Wasp, but I don't think there's any units here that would have actually killed the Wraith, as well as the Wasp. I guess range AA Wasp, that could have been a thing, but yeah. You can see here the Mustangs are just getting stuck since that Wraith does have armor. And, well, I tried to go for the spider mines there, but I think it was just that was a big misplay on my end. I just didn't have enough time in the round to kind of come up with a good solution. I think AA Wasp probably would have been the thing that I had to go for, because Melter is really bad into Wasp and not good into Steel Balls either. Multi-Melt could have been an option, but is simply very expensive, and you kind of needed to be level 2 if you wanted to kill these high level units. So yeah, that's a quick 7-rounder that goes the way of Sarah, and that way he equalizes the scoreline, 3 wins, 3 losses. Anyway, let's get over to game number 7 of this series. All right, so here we are. Game number 7. Now, having a look at these packs, speed spec looks quite good there on the tarantulas. Fortified spec is nice too. Sledgehammers are generally quite good into most stuff. They've got good stalling potential, and they tend to just be useful mid-sized chaff units, even as the game goes into the mid and late game. So that's what I end up going for. Get a good slab of hit points too, so not too much to complain about. My opponent goes for a Sledgehammer pack 2, Fire Badger Specialist there, and has the Marksman to begin with. So it's going to be here Crawlers for Sarah on round 1, logical purchase. And I will probably... I mean, there's two things I can do here. I can either just buy Crawlers and say, hey, I don't want to buy, or I don't want to get into Marksman in this specific game. Or I could go for something like Marksman myself, and then I at least have the DPS to be able to deal with these Sledgehammers. But I end up going for the Crawlers there and a center position. Main reason being I didn't want to get into Marksman myself. I kind of want to try and get out of a mirror-like game, because those game states are hard to judge, and oftentimes if one player gets ahead, you then get in trouble. And I'd rather have that be at the beginning of the game, where I can just buy useful deployments like chaff, and then immediately get into a certain comp, than have to transition midway in case I do end up falling behind. So here the idea would be to play for something like Phoenix, for instance, which have a bit more damage, as well as being air-based. And then hope that that will give me the advantage in this matchup. But yeah, round 1 here. It ends up in a way where I don't have enough damage. I do lose my tower, and I can't quite get rid of all of the units. So Sarah does take round 1. But we have enough hit points, and once more, just like in game number 6, we equalize the hit points on round number 1. Now, round number 2... one of my favorite cards in the game shows up, Improved Wasp, and Sarah does pick it up as well. Now, Improved Wasp is very, very powerful. I run techs that allow me to go for Carry Wasp. I have to give up on techs like Jump Drive and Shield to be able to play it, but it does end up winning against basically anything except maybe an early Fortress AA. Fortress Anti-Air is like the one thing that consistently beats my Carry Wasp setup. But with the Sandstorm on the Worms, I am confident in playing this card into any other board. Like Mustangs, Farseer, you name it, is really not a problem whatsoever. And here I decide to just skip a deployment and grab myself an Improved Wasp already on turn 2. The reason I do this is because I want to get ahead, and I was hoping that maybe this Wasp pack against only 3 marksmen, now 4, would be able to kind of clutch up the round, get a bunch of experience, level up, and that way I'm ahead, especially knowing now that my opponent took the card as well. Getting it early, getting the deployments, getting the levels is going to be very, very useful. Now my opponent here does have a lot of tempo. Again, Fire Badger spec on turn 2. Lots of deployments to deal with, and the right tower will end up falling, so that means these marksmen should be able to clear up the wasps. And that's not quite the round that I envisioned, but it is the one that I'll have to deal with. So we lose 2 rounds in a row, and we lose a good slab of hit points in these early rounds. Round number 3, nothing here looks that impressive to me. I don't need advanced power system if I want to play Carry Wasp. Absorption module, no real use for that either. And I'd rather just skip, get the money, get more wasps. And so that's what we do. 2 more Improved Wasps on the board. 1 in the middle, and probably 1 on the right. And those will help me defend the flanks on top of things. As for my techs on these units, I have range, which is mandatory if you want to carry Wasp. I have ground specialization. This is specifically if my opponent does end up going for Fortress. I think you need this tech if you want to be able to kill the Fortresses, because the way Fortress AA works is it gives all of the experience from the Fort AA kills to the Fortress, and so it often ends up leveling the turn it comes out. And then a level 2 Fortress against Wasp, you really need the ground spec if you want to kill them in a timely manner. I also run HE, as I think it's a really good tech on the Wasps. You only lose 30% attack, but it allows you to chaff clear, which is quite important, and it means you need one less puzzle piece to play carry Wasp. Otherwise, you have to play something like Wraith. And then, obviously, I run aerial specialization as well, so that I can fight enemy Wasps in case he decides to go for anti-air Wasps himself. Now, round number 3, we come out ahead, and I managed to get some good experience on my Wasps. And here already I was thinking, okay, I kind of wanted to test the waters to see what Sarah's response would be, but he just bought Fangs. We get unit reinforcements on round 4, and there's no Mustangs in this pack. Fortresses cannot be offered on this round, so that was not a concern. But that gives me some confidence. That gives me some confidence in thinking, okay, I'll probably have like a couple rounds here before an actual counter is going to be showing up. And that's probably all I need, especially with a card like Improved Wasp, which is very, very powerful. I should be able to just win this game. Now, Phantom Rays are great here as well. It's kind of a preemptive counter to something like Forte A. It allows me to tank in case it does show up. And so I stagger them in between the Wasps and put them a little bit further forward so that if Fortress AA does show up, the first barrage will end up going to the Phantom Rays and not to the Wasps. Round 4, we need range. This is always going to be the first tech that you want to click for this type of build. And now we just see what happens. Opponent goes for the Scorpions, which I was a bit surprised about. I did have sledges, but only 2 level 1s. I feel like it wasn't that much of a problem. And Scorpions don't help you against Improved Wasp. They are quite tanky though. But Improved Wasp has a lot of damage. That 60% attack buff. Definitely very helpful. And it looks like we should be just fine. That's another round picked up. And now all of my Wasps are leveling. And we even managed to level the level 2 pack. So at this stage, I'm feeling very confident. On this round, there was a Efficient Giant manufacturing available. Don't pick it up. I want to get the laser sight. But that is something my opponent could have gone for. And yeah, here he goes for the Mustangs. But Mustang into Improved Wasp, if you are running these techs, is not a concern at all. Wasps, especially with this card, are kind of tanky with that 60% bonus HP. And with the level advantage as well, it takes a long time for the Mustangs to kill them. Like, you'd be surprised how long it takes them to kill these Wasps. And especially if you're on HE, now suddenly the matchup becomes much, much better. And so instantly I try to prioritize HE as my second tech in these type of boards. Ground spec is only something I'll pick if a really tanky unit shows up. But if your opponent already has Fortress AA on like round 3 or 4, you might have to pivot out because it's really hard to come back from that and then also get chaff clear, right? Because my board is not well equipped to deal with chaff. That's what I use my Wasps for. And this is also one of the problems with Forte A showing up. It counters the Wasps so well, and because the Wasps are kind of doing all of the jobs in the early game, you lose your chaff clear, you don't have the DPS to kill the fortresses, and yeah, the comp kind of falls apart. But in this type of scenario, you can see those Mustangs were absolutely no problem whatsoever, and we just pick up more levels on those Wasps. 2 levels available yet again. And on round 6, we get unit reinforcements again. No fortress. Very happy with that. Sarah there goes for the rhinos, but that should not be a problem at all. And for me, it's just going to be the Typhoon into Cell, I presume. Opponent picks up armor on the rhino. It's a cheap tech. Does give 50% bonus hit points, so it's pretty good. But against Improved Wasp, I think it's not a problem. Also, I was quite surprised that my opponent went for field maintenance, but I think that he just completely misread what was going on here. Like, Improved Wasp does not care at all about these type of ground-based units that can't shoot up, because they have plenty of damage to kill them, especially once like a ground specialization. All of these units will melt. Goes for some flanks there, but the Wasps should do just fine. You can see some of the HE shots are actually landing and splashing on 2 sledges at once. And on this turn, with the Cell of the Typhoon, I had enough money for triple Sandworm into Sandstorm. And the whole idea behind this is that obviously wasps will always lose without Sandstorm against the Mustang, simply because of a tech like aerial specialization and the inherent range difference between the units. But with the introduction of Sandworm and Sandstorm, that kind of got flipped on its head, right? Now you have a tool to equalize the playing field, and even more than that, it becomes very favored for the wasps. So you try and catch those Mustangs inside of the Sandstorm, they lose half of their range, and then the wasps will just kill everything else as they get a lot of uptime. Round number 7, that was big damage, by the way. 391 hit points remaining for Sarah. It goes for double shot. I'm guessing that is to try and kill these sandworms, but in this comp, the sandworm is not the main threat. It's always going to be the wasp. And as long as I can get a sandstorm down, I'm happy for these things to die. Like, that's not a concern. If they do end up dying quickly, you can always make multiple waves of sandworms. So you have your first wave, and then you buy a couple more slightly further back. And then when these ones end up dying, the second wave comes in and a new sandstorm gets created. Well, you get the point. More levels now on our wasps. We have a level 4 on the side. We also picked up a nice item there, amp core for another wasp on the flank. And here I just decide to buy more sandworms. I'm very happy about how these games are going, or these rounds rather. And it doesn't look like my wasps are struggling too much. If we do end up losing, I can always buy more wasps. By the way, last turn my opponent did pick up aerial specialization, but yeah, with those sandstorms, it didn't really do too much. We are loaning here. Temp range is kind of important, right? Everything you can do to increase the range of the wasps is going to be welcomed. We kill the flanks. And here I could maybe have some forward wasp, because we do get pulled to the side somewhat, and so the worms are kind of left to their own devices for a bit too long. Also, the rhino there is tanking quite well, so at this point I'm considering if I lose this, I might end up going for something like ground specialization. We only need 391 damage, but I do get debuff there, really clutch, from my opponent's Scorpion and the Sledgehammers. And so it looks like the Mustangs will be able to get it done, and because of that, they also do pick up some levels there. The Wasps are very high level, so they give a lot of experience. And so it's not quite going to be game here on round 7. Is my opponent stabilizing? I would argue no. In this game, like, I've played this comp so much, when I see this, I'm like, okay, like this game is probably won. Like, if I play this correctly, I have a pretty easy flow chart. Shield airdrop picked up there for Sarah. Assault Fortress is available, but it's probably a bit too late at this stage to try and go for Fortress anti-air. I do still have those Phantoms, and they're not doing too poorly. 25k damage, 26k last round. And yeah, now I still have more aces up my sleeve, right? I can buy more Wasps. I can go ground specialization, which is what we do, and that will buff all of our damage against all of these units, since they're all ground based, by 200%. And yeah, this is where my comp gets scarier and scarier by the round. With 3k hit points, I can do so much more, even if I end up losing the next the next 2 turns. As long as I'm alive, I can just scale. And we go for more Wasps. I decide to pick them up at level 2. And we put them behind these initial sandworms. As we said, right, these ones are getting distracted for a bit too long. So we're trying to pair up these wasps with the front sandworms. I mean, look at that damage. Ground specialization there, just deleting units left, right, center. That rhino doing a pretty good job. But as soon as all of these wasps will lock onto it, it will simply melt. That Scorpion also gone. Opponent tried to go field maintenance, but that will not work against our improved wasps. The middle looks quite good, but I still have my sides. And since we have HE, we can splash onto some of these Mustangs. And we still have 2 worms left. And I think that should simply be game. 391 hit points. That'll be plenty with the units that we have left alive. And so after losing last game in a pretty dominant fashion by Sarah, we win this one quite comfortably with one of our favorite comps, the Worm Wasp. And yeah, it was equal after game 6, but now we're up 4-3. Let's head right over to game number 8. Here are the packs. Now, having a look at mine, Fortified spec Sledge could be okay. The speed spec is a Stormcaller pack. I don't like that too much into Sarah's playstyle. And, I mean, Aerial spec Tarantula there doesn't look too bad, so I think that's probably what I'll be picking up. It's either that or Fortified spec. My opponent goes for the Saber opener with the Amplify Specialist. Also has some Arclights, very strong pack still, and a really good matchup into my Tarantulas. So was not too happy about this one. Looks a little bit tough, but the good thing is I'm Aerial Specialist, so I can get access to a Phoenix here on round 1. And that is what we do. I think Phoenixes generally pair up better with Tarantulas than Marksmen do, mostly because Tarantulas tend to want to be on the line. And so in terms of pushing power, Phoenixes are better, they're faster, and then in terms of DPS, they're also just the better answer generally into Sabers. Marksmen at equal level can struggle a lot against these, and with a good matchup, oftentimes Sabertooth will level. And when they level, you're in a really bad spot if you're trying to kill them with Marksmen. So that's why we go for those Phoenixes right away. I do decide to play a bit defensively here, but I will stack on one side. I think I could have played aggressively, but the problem is I didn't really know where to put my crawlers, because if I put these too far forward, I might end up getting insta-locked. Okay, we do actually put them further forward, so never mind that. I do listen to my own advice and say we have to play the Tarantulas in a more headbutt fashion. And yeah, I keep the crawlers behind, and I have like 5 spaces here from the round 1 line. Looks like I will put a crawler up front, and this is purely to make sure that I don't get insta-locked, but I think I could have put this in the back and just kind of winged it. But if the Saber does end up locking on instantly, I'm in a really bad spot. Let's see if this happens here. I do have some crawlers coming in, but oh, yeah, that's a bit unfortunate. And with the Amplify, the small amplifying core, those Sabers have enough damage to one-shot my Tarantulas, which is a big problem. And yeah, these Phoenixes, they've got good damage, but it's not quite going to be enough to kill this Saber before the Tarantula goes down. Since my opponent went for Fangs, yeah, this round 1 looks like it is going to go the way of Sarah. At least we kill all of the remaining units, but yeah, we don't manage to cheese round number 1. Round 2, Mass-Produced Fortress there shows up. Really good card. Could pick that up, but I currently am not running Fang Spawn, and I think Mass-Produced Fortress is a card that is really, really strong if you run Fang Spawn, almost instantly pickable in any game. But yeah, since I don't run it, it's not something that I want to play in this game. Both of us decides to skip. And I decide to pick up some more Fangs here. I want to keep them in front of my Tarantulas so that we don't get this insta-lock happening again. And I also want another Phoenix. And with the skip, we're actually able to pick up a Phoenix, a Fang, and another Fang, or another Crawler if we want. It is going to be another Fang. That'll go on the right side. There's multiple things here that I could play, or that I was expecting. I thought maybe Sarah will put a Saber here on the right side, because it's quite common to do so in this corner. And then pair it up with the shallow flank, and it might insta-lock my Tarantula. You could go for a play on the left tower with something like Wasps and Crawlers, like he did in one of the previous games. Or he can do something like this. There were simply so many options that I had to take a bit of a risk. Ends up being a very wide setup with Crawlers and Sabers aimed at my left tower. So I will get debuffed. Question is, how much can we get done before the debuff happens? Phoenixes, again, do lock on very nicely. And this Saber is still not locked on to my Tarantula, so maybe we can do a bit more. And I do get debuffed. Okay, we managed to at least kill one of the Sabertooth. And now the question will be, does this Tarantula save me or not? Crawlers are running for my other tower, and this will have to turn, but I think it will simply lock onto that Saber. And the Phoenixes will not have enough damage to get rid of that again. And so I think this will be a bit too tall of a task. There's not that many Fangs left, but there is plenty of Crawlers, and those will distract my Phoenixes for long enough for Sarah to pick up this round as well. Debuff there worked really, really well. But yeah, I don't think there was much else I could do. I kind of just had to gamble. Round number 3. The thing that looks best here would be the sledgehammers. And yeah, I do pick that up. The reason being is that sledgehammer is actually quite good chaff against sabers. Obviously, they don't have the damage to contest, but they can buy time. They're very good on the front line against these type of comps. And yeah, with how slow Sabertooth fires, it just takes a long time for them to kill the whole pack. Round number 3. Now, Sarah goes for the same thing, and also picks up 2 phoenixes on this very turn. And yeah, having some sledgehammers around as like chaff is quite useful, especially with the units that are meta right now, and a lot of people enjoying picking the saber openers. I think this unit has made a bit of a resurgence as a powerful medium-sized chaff unit. Lots and lots of investment here on the left side from Sarah. I added Tarantula on the left side, one of the sledges, as well as a Phoenix, but I'm not sure if this will be enough. Oh, the Saber there actually locking onto my Tarantula, sadly. I was hoping that it would keep firing at the sledges, but it doesn't. And so with that, there's just a couple of Fangs left alive, and I think these Phoenixes should be able to take down, yeah, my Phoenixes, which means that we will get debuffed. Right side also wasn't looking too hot. And that's just the power of the Sabers early on. Like, they're so tanky, even if you do manage to lock onto them, it often takes a long time for you to kill them, and then during that time, the enemy DPS and chaff clear is killing your side of the board. Additional deployment slots picked up here for Sarah. It looks like the only pickable thing out of the other cards. Improved Melter is quite good, so that, to be honest, could be a play if you want to play multi-melter. But other than that, yeah, additional deployment slot looks like the safest option. We do get some more levels on our Phoenixes. We get a flank here from Sarah to try and bait our missile that we put down. And here, I'm just focusing on buying more chaff. Left side here doesn't really have much going for it for Sarah. That's why he does add an arc light there. Range on the Tarantulas would be very useful here, I have to say. Or maybe something like HE, just anything to kind of keep them out of harm's way. Because currently they have less range than the Sledgehammers, so this is maybe just a bit of a positional issue from me, but they run in front of my Sledgehammers, and it's meant to be the other way around. More crawlers picked up. Yeah, just another chaff round there. Trying to make use of our additional deployments. We get another mid flank. You can see that Sarah really likes to do these, and it's something that he tries to play around very much. Let's see. The nice thing about these level 2 Phoenixes is that they do one-shot those Sledgehammers and the arc lights, so they don't get stuck for as long. But yeah, while we're stuck on those Sabers, which still take 3 shots per Phoenix to kill if they're level 1, the enemy Phoenixes take out ours. We have managed to find the enemy Sabertooth there, though. And that doesn't look too bad. Left side also victorious, and our crawlers are doing a fantastic job. And now with the 2 crawlers on the sides, I am also starting to think about, okay, maybe there is a crawler play to be made here. Some type of like impact drill if I want to be safe, or replicate if I want to be a bit greedy, could play out. Round number 5, and Sarah goes for the mass-produced Wraith. A little bit surprised about this, but we're kind of back to the heavy airboard that we saw in the first video I made. Comp that Sarah really likes is trying to pair up these Phoenixes with the Wraith, and then also often the Wasps, just for complete air dominance. And then oftentimes there will be like some type of tank on the ground. Sledgehammer is a unit of choice for Sarah, and in this game, the Amp Core Sabertooth are doing a good job of that as well. Now I decided to pick up the Ion Beam. Very, very powerful spell. Also quite low cooldown, 3 rounds for a red spell, and also quite cheap. So if I can manage to hit most of the stuff here, which it looks like I will, we might get some good tempo. I was a bit surprised to see the Wraith, I have to say, especially because they're mass-produced. Phoenixes tend to do a very good job into Wraith, and that is exactly what happens. Nice Ion there, left side looking quite good as well, and we managed to have the money finally to get the range on the Tarantulas, and so now they are kept out of harm's way for a bit. And that is a massive round as we strike back. And that'll send Sarah close to 2k hit points, even below 2k, near 1500. So very, very good round. Happy with that spell pickup. Round 6, unit reinforcements show up once more. And here Sarah decides to go for the fortress. Now, in this type of game, I was expecting Fortress AA to be something that he could pick up. And I've got a couple of options then. Obviously, I could go Fortress and try to mirror and just not take Fort AA, but take different techs so that I win the ground. The problem is that doesn't really address the air situation. And so instead here, I decided to pick up the Mustangs, since Mustangs are good against air units as well. And I'm not too scared of these level 1 Wraith at the moment. He does have armor available, but it should take him at least another round before he tries to click that. There's a lot of damage on the board though, or a lot of damage that I need to do to kill these sabers, to kill these 3 fortresses, one of which is level 2. Does look like a very scary board. I could have gone for Melter there as well. Melter Tarantula is a pretty normal comp. The nice thing though is that Mustangs can intercept air missiles, so that's something we could play for if we wish. But yeah, my Phoenixes there are kind of starting to fall very quickly indeed. I only have 1 Phoenix left on this side by the looks of it. How much can we do? Okay, Phoenix does get a great lock on there, so we kill the Wraith. Also a flank, as we clicked Impact Drill to deal with the flanks earlier. As I mentioned, that was an option, and we finally do end up going for it. And thanks to the debuff, the Fort AA will not prevail on this round, and we do a little bit more damage. And at that point, Sarah is kind of within kill range, sitting at 800 hit points. Round number 7. Nothing too interesting here. All of these cards somewhat expensive. Efficient Light is a scaling card, but I kind of want to try and end this game as fast as I can. And so, yeah, here we decide to go for the Missile Interceptor tech on the Mustangs. For those of you that don't know, it did get buffed repeatedly, and after the last buff in efficiency, it is the most efficient tech at intercepting missiles. In fact, 2 Mustangs with Intercept are more efficient than a War Factory with Intercept, so that kind of gives you an idea, because War Factory is very expensive, right? 800 cost units, 200 cost unlock. You need the tech, and then you also pay upkeep. So yeah, Mustangs, a very, very good option if you're struggling against a board that is mostly relying on missiles. And you can see here, almost all of the missiles do get intercepted. And so our Phoenixes are just free to damage from the back line. Obviously, we do lose some of our interception as our Mustangs die. But it's holding up quite well. And here, I'm just thinking, okay, I think I'm intercepting for long enough, but I just lack a bit of damage, and so that's why I like to run something like Charge Shot to simply kill the big targets. So after seeing how this round went, I'm thinking, let's play for Charge Shot. And make sure that we kill the enemy units in time. Opponent here was loaning, I think I was too. But our Phoenixes look like they will be able to clutch up. So not too bad of a round. We do get another level. And then this turn we can go for Charge Shot to kill the enemy units just a bit faster. There's so many good things to hit. Fortresses, Sabertooth, Wraith, all of those will go down much easier with the 175% bonus attack. And the opponent also being willing there to use quite expensive deployments on the flanks just to deal with those 2 level 1 drill crawlers. Now here, I am loaning, so is my opponent. I buy a bunch of missiles. This is very important often in these type of headbutt games or like defensive games, whatever you have. If it's very tempo heavy and a lot of units are on the line, using the missiles to try and get some instant locks is very, very useful. Opponent kind of does it too, but we have way more missiles available. And so already here you can see this fortress in the middle got instantly locked on. Left side is going great. The tarantulas are doing a good job of chaff clearing. And now we'll hopefully be able to lock on to the Wraith. There they go. Just simply one shot because of those levels and the charge shot. And that looks quite good. Only 613 hit points is what we need to deal. Look at that damage. It is very satisfying to see Phoenixes one-shot these big units. And even during the debuff, that Phoenix does not survive my level 3 Phoenix. And we do manage to close out game number 8. And so at this point, we are up, let me think. I think we are 5-3, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, let's head over to game number 9. Game number 9. Here we go. Looking at the packs, aerial spec here looks really good. Nice amount of hit points. Sledges are nice, as we've seen. Has been a useful unit in this scrim set for most of the games. And then aerial specialization is also nice since we are able to buy something like Phoenix, which I think is a very, very popular unit currently to deal with things like saber openers. Marksman spec doesn't look too bad either, and the steel balls are nice as well. And it looks like I was feeling more like playing steel balls here. I think I would have picked the aerial spec again though, but I was also kind of trying to play for variety, and we already had an aerial spec last game. Probably would have been happier with the sledge pack though, because playing steel balls into sledgehammers tends to be the worst matchup they can get. They can still be somewhat useful in the early game, but they will often just get stalled for too long. Here we get a bit of an aggro game again from me. Trying to play near the line. Arclights I think are a bit too far forward for me though. I think I prefer this positioning from Sarah. I think he is like 5 squares from the line or so. Maybe 6 squares. And yeah, that looks quite good. Here, I will likely just instantly lock onto these sledgehammers. And then the question will be, will the Arclights get unstuck fast enough? Do end up in a headbutt scenario. My opponent, by the way, is a missile specialist. So I do try to space my units in a way that like doesn't completely screw me over as soon as those missiles are available. But yeah, left side there, plenty of damage coming out of the Arclights mostly, I believe, to kill those steel balls. And as we lose all of our Arclights, I don't think we'll be able to win this. Steel ball will take out one more arc, but with that, okay, one more steel ball or one more sledge as well, and another one. Okay, it's doing admirably. We still have some crawlers there on the top right tower, but, well, they'll get some experience, but they should not be able to win this. And we can kind of just fast forward this as we wait for the round to end. I might even instantly go to round 2, to be honest, because this just takes an awfully long time. Round number 2, we do get access to our Sabertooth, as we are a Sabertooth specialist. And on top of that, we get unit reinforcements. Marksman available, Fire Badger, Tarantula, and Phantom Ray. Phantom Ray doesn't look too bad, but Marksman is available, and that should be able to deal with the Phantoms quite easily. And it looks like that's what Sarah wants to go for. Picks up the Marksman. It also adds good DPS against most of the other units. And it adds DPS against that Sabertooth that I have. I go for the same line, realizing that the level 3 Marksman, if it locks onto the correct targets, should be good against all of the units on the board, apart from the crawlers, and also good against all of the units that were offered. I put it on the inside here. Now this is a little bit risky, because again, those missiles are available. I did say I tried to space in somewhat of a logical manner, but Yeah, it's kind of hard to play around this. I have to keep some of my units together. Obviously, Chaff Clear and Single Target DPS should hopefully be aiming in the same direction. If I space them too much, then they might end up shooting at completely the wrong thing. I also do pick up a sledgehammer there. But yeah, marksman in prime position to lock onto those sledges. Also put a missile on the right. I was expecting somewhat of a cheese. We have seen it. But that's the downside if you're behind, right? If you're behind in tempo and you know that you lose the main fight because you've seen how round 1 goes, you kind of need to reinforce the left side. And you can't afford to use deployments on the other side of the board where there may or may not be some units. Now, I could also just justify it by trying to make a play for the tower here. That is possible, but we end up losing another round there consecutively. Improved firepower control system shows up, and that is something Sarah goes for. And yeah, another unit Sarah does like is Mustang. So any excuse to get into that unit, Sarah will take. And we can already see the Mustangs have been purchased and given the item. For me, quick teleport looks pretty decent. A skip was possible too, or we get the improved firepower control system ourselves, and we go for a similar play. So yeah, it's going to be Mustang with the improved firepower control against Mustang with the same item. I put a Sabertooth here in front of that tower, some Chaff as well, and hopefully this should be tanky enough to be able to deal with this. I think the Mustangs with that item should be strong enough to deal with the crawlers. And we get another mid-flank, something we've seen a lot from Sarah. I might have to start playing more on the inside. Although so far it hasn't necessarily caused problems in all of our games. We've won plenty of games where those flanks did end up being played. Mustangs look like they are winning, but a lot of them died, so it still takes quite some time to kill these crawlers, and a second pack is coming in. Late steel balls do look like they should kill an Arclight, but that marksman is DPSing very well. Top on damage in the round, top on damage in the game so far. And yeah, with the debuff, that should be another round going the way of Sarah. So 3 in a row so far, really good early game. But that's kind of the downside of playing steel balls into Sledgehammer. If you don't get tempo early, you don't get that level, then you tend to fall behind a bit. Round number 4, Orbital Javelin shows up, but also the Efficient Light Manufacturing, and that is what Sarah goes for. It's quite a good card this early on. It's the earliest round it can show up, but in these type of games, if you plan to play small units, it will often pay off to just pick it this early. Javelin, though, is a really, really good card as well. It's super cheap, low cooldown, and it will definitely come back in most games if it shows up on round 4. And so here we have a bit of a difference, where I decide to go for the Orbital Javelin to try and get some tempo, and hopefully get some value out of it on round 8 when it comes back. And Sarah goes for the long-term value with the Efficient Light Manufacturing. More Mustangs picked up here. I sold out of my steel balls because they weren't being that useful, and I decided to go for range with my Mustangs. I also put some crawlers in front of his crawlers. Potentially that could allow us to go for a similar play where we click replicate or impact drill. But yeah, good positioning here though from Sarah. Sledgehammer right in front of my Arclight to lock that up. I do decide to go for a missile on top of things, and the marksman is shooting at the correct units. The late crawlers should help it at least to survive for that a little bit longer, but we have some stray crawlers coming in to distract it, and so if those were not there, I think the marksman could have won because it one-shots most of these units. But yeah, this is a little bit painful. Lucky for us though, enemy also does get distracted as we won the left side and won the right side. I mean, we used the javelin, so it's a good thing we won. We'd be in a very dire situation if we didn't win that, picking up the spell. Round number 5, earliest possible round to get the second round of unit reinforcements. Triple Rhino is the pickup there for Sarah. Kind of expected. Again, Sarah likes rhinos a lot, so yeah. Anytime you see like Wraith being offered, or a Mustang item, or Rhino, you kind of know what Sarah is going to go for. I decided to go for the level 3 Scorpion here. should be pretty good into the sledgehammers, and the idea is to play Scorpion Mustang, which is a decent comp. The one downside is those late crawlers could be a problem. Mustangs tend to struggle quite a bit into crawlers, even if they're only level 1, and especially when Subterranean Blitz gets clicked. That could be an issue down the line. I decided to line up this Scorpion with the sledgehammers in the middle, but I'm not sure that's what I should have done. I probably should have put this Scorpion with my strong pack of Mustangs instead of trying to even out the board. Rhinos are all the way in the back, and armor has been clicked, of course. We also pick up 2 shields because of the missiles being off cooldown. And I really was not ready to give up on my Mustang packs. But yeah, the problem that I've created here is that I didn't really put any chaff gear in the middle, and so our big Scorpion just ends up kind of dying in a silly manner. Yeah, that's definitely a mistake from me. I should have just paired it up with my strong Mustangs, and then we could play from the outside in. If I had money for like Mustangs in the middle, then this could have been a fine play, but without it, it definitely wasn't the correct play. Mustangs will at least kill the marksman. Maybe they can get a level, not quite. So round 5 goes the way of Sarah as well, and now we're starting to fall somewhat into danger territory there. 2400. Round number 6, both of us quickly pick up the intensive training. And yeah, those sledgehammers are starting to get a bit scary for us to deal with. Level 3 now with the field maintenance, very cheap tech. And the nice thing about it is that level 1 sledgehammers with field maintenance and the first tower enhancement will have enough hit points to survive a missile. And then if you don't kill them and you just damage them, obviously they will just regenerate some of their hit points. I currently don't run it, but it might be something that I should put back on my sledgehammers, because Sarah seems to like it and he does very, very well with that tech. Now on this round, I decided to pick up 2 more level 2 Mustangs. One of them I decided to level instantly to level 3. The reason I didn't level this pack with the item is because it should level on its own this round. And I wanted to provide some support, right, for our high level Scorpion. Now let's see how this goes. Crawlers are still running in, and you can see it takes a long time for the Mustangs to kill the crawlers. Finally, it seems like the Scorpion does look on, but same thing can be said about the level 3 marksman shooting at my Scorpion. The Rhino is not doing too much. Will end up dying to the Saber, I believe. Oh, that's very unfortunate. It was about to fire, but it doesn't quite manage to get the shot off. And because of that, the Rhino can just tank these Mustangs indefinitely thanks to the armor. We lose their left side. We lose our tower. And I think with that, we lose the round again. Quite an unfortunate series of events there. I think if this Rhino does end up dying to the Saber and we get like 0.1 of a second more, we'd be completely fine. But yeah, the Rhino armor there ends up tanking and getting such insane value. On this round, I pick up the Amplify core. Same thing for my opponent. He throws it on the Mustang. I throw it onto my Scorpion. Maybe I should have thrown it onto the Mustang as well, though. I don't really need the damage on the Scorpion. We also pick up Scorpion range to try and keep them out of harm's way. This is where something like field maintenance could have been good, though. Opponent goes for double shot on his marksman. With the level 4 marksman, that is quite a scary amount of damage. Also, very deep flanks here coming in. We've seen that in this series as well. And yeah, let's see how we do. Temp range being picked up by both of us. We're not loaning, though. But it is kind of important to take the temp range at this stage of the game, especially in these type of mirror-ish situations where both of us have a backline of Mustangs. Scorpion doing a decent job, but the sledgehammers got pulled around a bit much, and so now the Scorpion is just shooting at single sledgehammers. That is absolutely not what you want. And this one golden sledge and the 2 over here are just creating so many problems, and that tends to be something that happens a lot to me when I try to play Scorpions into the sledgehammers. They just seem to just get stuck way too much, and that's, I think, the one downside to this unit. Of course, if it performs well, it's insane. But it is kind of tailgated by the fact it has such a long interval cooldown. So if it doesn't hit the correct target, you will feel it. And yeah, here with the split that happened, that was an absolute disaster. Another round goes the way of Sarah. And yeah, I'm starting to feel the pressure here, and I don't really know what I need to do to fix this. Hacker could have been an option, maybe. Raiden, I don't really like. I mean, there's only 3 packs of sledges, right? So, to me, hacking didn't seem that useful. Because it's not really good into the rest of the board. Raiden, same thing. It's only good into the sledgehammers, but they're being used as chaff right now. So, I just felt like I was in a bit of a tough spot. Maybe Carry Fortress could have done something, like Overload Fortress. But yeah, it's hard to read here what the play should be. And so I decided to just kind of double down and trust the Scorpions. Hopefully the Mustangs will be able to scale. Hopefully these Scorpions will be able to get some more useful shots in as well with the spell that we have. Sarah here picked up the Incendiary Bomb. And I think I decided to pick up the Heavy Armor. So we do have quite some tanky units. But yeah, these deep flanks are coming in as well. One more here on the right. I think this Mustang should not be too bothered about it. I decided to go for Underground on my crawlers. The reason being is that most of the chaff gear from my opponents is also coming from his Mustangs. And so Underground should be quite valuable. Also, not great positioning from me here. These crawlers do run through our Mustangs, so we could get some crowd surfers. Well, never mind, since they got taken out by the missile. So, Sarah doing me a favor there, I guess. Oh, no, never mind. You can see the Mustangs there getting pushed forward somewhat. And yeah, Mustangs do end up dying. That's another, like, somewhat awkward thing about Mustang Scorpion. Scorpion have more range than Mustang, so the Mustangs tend to kind of clump around them or get in front of them. And, well, if they end up all dying, then you have no more chaff clear. This round, though, doesn't look too bad, but there are still some scary Mustangs left alive. Let's see. I think the Scorpions here should come out ahead. And so we do manage to win a round, but Sarah's still very healthy at 3.2k hit points, and we did use a Javelin there. Round number 9. Phoenix, Raiden, Typhoon, and Fortress show up. Sarah decides to go for the Phoenixes there for just a little bit extra damage. It does make sense. It's a good unit into the Scorpions. And here I wasn't really sure what to do. There were like a bunch of Fangs, and Triple Typhoon could be the shaft gear that we need. So that didn't look too bad to me. Fortress, kind of the same thing, but it is quite expensive, and I'd rather have more Fortresses than just one big level 3 Fortress. But I think it's between those two options. Raiden is not a good thing here, I think, into the enemy Mustangs and the high-level marksman. And so we end up going for the Fortress. I sell out of my mid-Scorpion, and I try to go for a bit of a pivot into Fortress here. I did mention it as another option, right? If I can get to a point where I have something like Launcher Overload and range, they should be able to carry. And I decided to go for Barrier first. I'm not sure if that was the correct pick, though. I go for Barrier and Overload. I think I probably should have gone for something like Range and Overload rather than the Barrier. Because, I mean, the play here was just also trying to kind of stat check my opponent, so I can understand why I picked Barrier. More crawlers on the flanks. Yeah, these flanks are hard to deal with for me. But I can't really use any resources, I think, to deal with them. Also, we get pulled with these Mustangs. Maybe the Fortress there should have been within range. And yeah, with the Overload, the problem is I really have no range to try and shoot at these units. So my Fortress ends up dying. And that just looks very dominant for my opponent. The Phoenixes added enough DPS to where the barriers were not really an issue whatsoever. And the double shot marksman as well, just quickly dispatch of them. And so that looks like it could be the round. Yeah, 2 Phoenixes, 3 marksmen, Arclights, Mustang. That looks like it's probably going to be too much for me to deal with. And yeah, we do lose this game. 9th game in our series. And so Sarah now pulling back with 4 wins. We're still ahead though with 5 wins ourselves. And there's only 1 game remaining. So let's head over there right now. Game number 10. All of these again were played on the same day. And this is the game that will determine whether or not we go 6-4 or whether or not Sarah equalizes the score for the day at 5-5. The pack for him will be steel balls and crawlers. And for myself, I think the quick supply ball pack looks the best. And yeah, that is what I'm going to go for. Again, steel balls, good matchups for the most part, apart from sledgehammers. Arc lights always useful, and quick supply is just generally quite good. Having some extra money early on can make a big difference in these volatile matchups where there's a lot of aggression and yeah, things like text, deployments, levels do matter. Both of us quite healthy too. I get a good slab of hit points. And we're going to see a similar setup that we've seen before from Sarah with the steel balls on the inside. Crawlers will likely go behind the steel balls once more. Yep, there we go. I think, well, I can't even remember what game it was, but I think it was one of the games that I just narrated. And yeah, this time around, it's the other pack. We played the exact opposite. I had 3 crawlers and Sarah had 3 arc lights, and now I have the arc lights and Sarah has the crawlers. Let's see how this goes. Arc lights, sadly though, do lock onto the arc lights instantly. Hopefully we can kill them before our crawlers all die. That's not going to be possible on the left side, but we do have win with our arc lights still alive. Steel ball's not going to go for the tower. I kind of hope that these guys will turn. They will, so at least we don't get debuffed, and with the steel ball advantage, we should come out ahead. And so it is a good round 1 for us. Steel ball halfway to leveling. Round number 2. Sledgehammer again, quite good here. It's useful against steel ball, so we've seen it in a bunch of our games. Marksman, a good pickup too. Does well into almost all of the units offered. Typhoon, there's an argument for that as well. Typhoon ball is a bit of a classic pairing. And it's going to be the marksman here for Sarah. Not quite sure what I pick up here. I can see an argument for all, and I kind of forgot this game, to be honest. Is going to be the marksman as well. But yeah, there's an argument for almost everything there. Again, Sarah here is a missile spec. And, well, we have seen these flanks in almost every single game that we've played against Sarah. And so this game, since I do have more supplies and I won the first round, I can go for a bit of a play myself. And so, yeah, we're going to show Sarah what we're made of. And kind of pull the Uno reverse card here with a classic crawler with Wasp in the left corner to go for this tower. And that will win against just the crawlers there from Sarah. Double missiles do get used, and I decided to put down a missile. Also, late crawler here for me, all the way in the back. Kind of trying to preempt any type of cheese that may show up. More marksmen were picked up here for Sarah, and so it looks like a bit of a game similar to the last one we played. But this time around, I hopefully have a bit more tempo. The matchup is not as bad, and I did manage to win the first round. We get the debuff, sadly though. All of our arc lights are dead, and so how much can we really do with this debuff? We'll get debuffed in return. This missile will get triggered by the crawlers. Does it kill the steel balls though? Doesn't. So yeah, there goes our tower, and with 2 marksmen left alive, I think he should have enough to be able to get rid of our wasps. And yeah, the cheese was successful, but it didn't win us the round. The one good thing is that the wasps ended up leveling. And we might be able to put that to good use. Level 2 wasps can be a bit of a menace to deal with. Round number 3, we get advanced power system offered, but also deployment module. And, well, I showed you guys in the Wasp game that I don't have jump drive available, but with the deployment module, we can kind of play the same way we would with jump drive. Obviously, we don't have the bonus speed, but should be quite nice here. And, well, I already put the module onto the Wasp. Maybe that's a bit of a mistake, because I do end up meaning to simply go for the same tower at least one more round. So I probably should have just held on to it, but yeah. We all know it's eventually going to go on the Wasps. More fangs picked up for me. Triple fang here to try and make sure that my arc lights don't get insta-locked. That's what happened last round. Good positioning from Sarah. Gets the insta-locks on my arcs. And so, yeah, that created some chaff problems. We level our crawler, since that leveled up as well. And we missile the crawler pack from Sarah. Sarah puts down a level 1 Mustang pack, but that does not win against this level 2 pack of Wasps. And, yeah. Kind of fortunate that he didn't missile my crawlers. Probably just didn't have the money. Round 3 can still be quite expensive to do everything that you need. And that's a really good round. And some levels on the steel balls if we wish to pick them up. Also some levels on the arc lights and a lot of damage. Full round 3. Round number 4. Advanced power system shows up once more. Also nano repair kits available there. But yeah. Speed is just so strong here. I'm very surprised Sarah skips. But I guess he's playing more of a defensive setup now. Since I'm the one who's trying to go for towers. And this time, Sarah does respect the crawlers. Puts down the missile instantly. Let's see what we can do. More Mustangs on the side and in the middle as well. Trying to kind of prevent any of the cheeses from happening. In case the Wasps do move around. And maybe that's the benefit, right? Of picking up the deployment module. Sarah sees this and thinks, oh, okay, well, he didn't have jump drive, but now he can move the Wasps anywhere he wants. So I'm kind of baiting out Mustangs all around the field. And yeah, we just keep being annoying on this side. We put a crawler here on the flank to distract these Mustangs. We put a missile down again. We put an arc light as well in case more chaff shows up, which it does, but it seems like it'll go for this fang pack. And we beacon in with the mobile beacon. And as you can see, yeah, these crawlers do a really good job. They're still spawning in, but even that is enough to stop the Mustangs from turning. And so once again, we get a debuff. And in these type of headbutt scenarios, you get so much value out of the debuffs. In fact, it's so good that these steel balls on the right even managed to get the tower. Obviously, I'm clicking high mobility, the temporary speed on the tower as well. As we did get the advanced power system, and if that is what you play for, I think it's very, very good to click the temp speed whenever you can. Speed is such, I don't know if it's an underrated stat, but it's very powerful. Especially if you like playing aggro, something that you should keep in mind. Now round number 5, sledgehammers show up, and Sarah here goes for the phantom rays, which I was a bit surprised about. I picked them up as well. Of course, they are good into Mustang, so that's what I'm going to go for. But I was expecting something else there. And yeah, we click instant armor, which should be quite good against these level 1 Mustangs. In fact, it's so good, I think, that I am willing to put some phantoms on the flank as well. And then this time the missiles are back online. And now I decide to move my Wasps to try and go for the right side. But it looks like Sarah kind of predicts it. And yeah, that is a very impressive guess from Sarah. Opting to go for the missile strike there on the right. Which is a, you know, it's a fair guess. I do go for crawlers here on the flank. And I did have the deployment module. I haven't moved my Wasps all of these turns. So it does make sense for me to try and move them this time. And I think these crawlers were there last turn. Oh, they were not. But yeah, that's a really good guess there, and we'll get rid of all but one Wasp. We still do get in, since we do use our missiles, and I think I should win this thanks to the hit point bonus from the armor that we clicked. Flank is also in trouble for Sarah, and yeah, these phantoms are doing a great job. Now both towers did get leveled. The Wasps would have plenty of damage to kill this quickly, but the level 1 phantoms are struggling somewhat. Looks like this is a pretty good round here for Sarah. My marksman is doing a valiant job in the middle. Really does benefit from that debuff. Doesn't quite manage to kill the phantom there, but Not too bad. We do lose a missile, and it looks like this round should go over to Sarah. A couple of stray crawlers distracting my phantoms, and so yeah, really good guess, but that was the missile strike turn. Maybe I should have gone somewhere else. Haste module available, lightning storm available too, and additional deployment slot. I decided to go for the haste mod. I don't really care too much about the deployments here. I just want to try and be fast and end this game as quick as I can. But there is an argument to be made for most things here. And wow, okay, so anti-air coming out on the Mustangs. This should allow Sarah to kill my phantoms now, level 2. Especially with aerial specialization, have enough damage to kill the level 1 phantoms with armor. And yeah, I just decided to buy more phantoms here. I think they're doing quite a good job. And I decided to put the haste module on the phantoms here on the right. We do missile the crawlers again on the line. If I can get rid of those, then I should be in a pretty good spot. And here we get missile into the fangs to hopefully get into this tower. Now these wasps are a bit fast, so maybe I should put them a bit further back so that they can survive. We'll have to see how it goes. Also, I picked up range enhancement on the arc lights since, well, they did grab some levels, and arc lights are quite good into crawlers and mustangs, especially when you're the one dictating the tempo. Surprisingly here, my opponent didn't really deal with the flank that well, so the crawlers end up getting in. And with one steel ball on the level tower, we get both tower debuffs, and that's another good round. And now Sarah is going to go down to 448. That's close to even being lethal, and definitely within kill range now. Round number 7, heavy armor shows up, port shield as well. Both are great items. I decided to go for the port shield. It's a bit better, I think, on the steel balls, as long as the shield isn't broken, it will block any instance of damage. And of course, it also doubles the effective hit points, whereas armor only gives 80% bonus hit points. And this turn, since I am playing for the kill, we are loaning, we're getting the temp speed, again, quite important, and I decide to go for Crawler Replicate. Reason for that is I noticed my opponent didn't really have a board that was really good at dealing with crawlers. It's mostly Mustang based, and there are some arcs, but they're only level 1 and unteched. So here I decided to go for the crawlers, and that's quite good considering my opponent went for shielded fangs on this turn, which should be useful against my arc lights and phantoms, but fangs are not very good at dealing with crawlers. And here I loan, and we buy more crawlers with our deployments. Also, we put down a missile interceptor on the right to try and prevent this from getting missiled. If we can keep these crawlers alive, then they will replicate off of the enemy crawlers and just create a death ball of units. The flanks we can't protect though, and those are getting missiled. Quite expensive for my opponent, however. And let's see how this goes. I decided to put down some missiles myself as well. Maybe I should have put down something here to try and prevent this from getting locked, but there was an arc light there, so I didn't know how well it would go. I think crawlers there may have or the missile may have landed anyway, but look at the speed. Those late level 2 crawlers getting in, killing the marksman, replicating off of it, and now the Mustangs are on the menu. Left side wasn't quite successful, but right side, we still have a steel ball. One of the middle doing great as well. Really good item. And we get a debuff. Arc lights during the debuff, feasting on my opponent's army. And with that, it should be enough to close out the game on round 7, as we only needed 448 damage. And a good gut shot. Realizing that my opponent was weak to crawlers, and we end with that the 10-game series 6-4. This was quite the special day for me because my win rate against Sarah, for those of you who might know, is very bad over the past 3 months, 6 months. I tend to really not do well into him. So this was a bit of a special day. And yeah, that concludes the 10-game series. I hope that you enjoyed this. Let me know what you thought of it down below. If you want to stay up to date with my latest content, please do consider subscribing. If you want to see me play live, do check me out on Twitch. And with that being said, take care, guys, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.